Hey, I just got a little notification on my phone that the GasHouse gang is live, so I better start talking. The GasHouse gang right here on the KMOX Sports YouTube page, all over the place, X, Facebook, you name it, we're there. We're on KMOX Radio. It's noon Central Time, and the hot stove is hot with Matt Pauley and Bernie MIklasz. I'm Tom Ackerman. Where do we start with all these moves? I got up this morning to do the show at 3:30, and Jeff Passan's tweeting about Jock Peterson going to the Rangers. What do these guys ever sleep, Bernie? What's the deal with these guys?
They don't. It's the Adrian Wojnarowski when he was still at ESPN all those many years at Yahoo Sports, Adam Schefter in particular. They established basically 24-hour the 24-hour tweet cycle when it came to breaking news. Those two more than any other were responsible for this, for good or for bad.
Yeah.
No, never ends.
Absolutely. Happy holidays to Matt Pauley. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. We're coming up on Christmas, a couple days away. It's all, I've got 2 young children at home, so that always that's a lot of fun. I know, Tom, you've been through that with young kids, and now your kids are a little bit older, but it's a lot of fun this time of year.
Yeah, we're still seeing what Santa's going to bring everybody and all that good stuff. We're having a good time with it. I'll tell you what, Cardinals fans, I'm not sure that Santa is bringing them a gift, but they are perhaps going to see some trade activity. You just never know, Bernie. I feel like when I see all these moves happening one after the other, and here we go, just as I say that, the Cardinals have not made a trade, but they've announced their minor league staff hiring, so we can kind of sort through that as they just sent out a release on that. But they are, like my point is everyone's trying to get business done before Christmas. Christmas Eve is tomorrow, Christmas Day on Wednesday. I feel like everyone's trying to jam things in today, Monday. So here we sit at 12:05 Central Time, and perhaps by the time this re-airs, we will have other moves. Who knows, Bernie? I mean, but don't you feel that way? They want to get some things moving here before the holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that even, men and women who are as driven that work in front offices that are driven to always work, whatever it takes. I think everyone likes to shut it down for about at least 48 hours, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then get back at it. But there's a lot out there still. I mean, Alex Bregman, Corbin Burns. I mean, that's only 2. There are many others. And of course, here locally, we're all, what's the word? Tormented. We're waiting, I guess, is the polite way to put it, for something to happen with Nolan Arenado. I mean, after last week, I kind of thought that maybe something would kick back and expedite this thing, accelerate this thing. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know that anybody's going to make a trade for Nolan Arenado until they figure out, whether if they're one of the teams that wants Alex Bregman, what his decision is going to be. So this could still drag on for quite a while.
Yeah, and I think connected to all of that with the Astros looking for somebody and the Cardinals reportedly having a deal and the parameters of a deal in place with the Astros as Jay Smith is, being a smart aleck there with Arenado. But I believe, Matt, that he rejected the Astros because he wanted more time to see what other teams were going to do. Now, if you're the Astros, how do you come back to Arenado if he didn't want you the first time? You know that you're not first on his list. So I think that's what was going on there, Matt.
Yeah, and you don't now because they've got Christian Walker, so that puts Paredes back at third, and Arenado to the Astros. Any chance of that happening? In this industry, you never say never, but I mean, it just doesn't fit now. So I don't think that's likely to happen. I do, the Yankees were the team. If you go back to the tape and what I was saying around the winter meetings, I kept talking about the Yankees. And admittedly, I backed off that a little bit when some other things started to happen and there were some other reports out there. But I'm going to go back to that. I think I'm going to stick with that one now until something actually happens. I think Nolan Arenado ends up as a New York Yankee.
Well, that means he would be in the infield, Bernie, with Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah. I was going to say, all we can do is operate on just not so much facts, but more belief based on facts. Like, in other words, the Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt to a 1-year deal, $12.5 million. I think it was a really smart move by the Yankees. We can get into that if we want, but I think that makes it more likely that if Nolan Arenado was reluctant to go to New York, if that was a team that was not on his list, we don't even know if there really was a list Derek Gould says there really wasn't a list. He was quoting a source close to Arenado. I assume it was the agent. But I would think Goldie's presence setting up at first base, and those two are very tight, very, very close friends. They're 4 years together in St. Louis, really created a strong friendship. I would think that if Goldie's willing to go there and Goldie wants to, if there's any chance that all the Yankees and Cardinals can make a trade, I think, I don't see why Goldie wouldn't tell his buddy, come on, this will be fun. Let's do it. So I think the chances would go up. But again, you just don't know with Arenado, and I'm not being critical. I'm just saying we just really don't know. And the one thing we know is he longs to be a Los Angeles Dodger. And John Denton late last week was talking about of MLB.com was talking about, oh no, he's still holding out hope of being a Dodger. But Denton actually kind of raised the ante by saying that don't pay attention to the Dodgers with all this stuff. We're all set. The Dodgers really want him too. Again, I don't know what to believe anymore, right? I just don't. So it's really hard to kind of diagnose this situation. But we do know that Nolan Arenado would probably, he wouldn't be in St. Louis, but let's just say he was in St. Louis. I think he would crawl from here to Dodger Stadium to play for the Dodgers. Other than that, I don't think we know anything, really. Not really. Not in a concrete, certain way.
Yeah.
And it's just if you're the Dodgers and you've made this big deal about Max Muncy's our guy at third, we are not moving him off of third. It's not like you're moving Max Muncy and all this. If you come back around and say, well, actually, you know what, Max, can you go over to second, or how does that play? How does that play with a Max Muncy?
He'd go along with it because he's loves being a Dodger, but then you'd have to get rid of Gavin Lux pretty much. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He had a good year last year. Who knows? Arenado's causing headaches in many major league markets right now. So, but he's also generating easy content for everybody as well. So I'm not.
Oh, he is. Everywhere I go, and I'm sure it's the same with you guys. Where's Arenado going to end up? And people ask me, what are the chances he stays with the Cardinals? I put it at like 10%. I said 90-10 that he goes elsewhere. Do you agree with that, Matt? Would you agree with those numbers?
Yeah, I might even put it at a higher number that he's gone. I don't know. I don't think you can do it. There's too many reasons not to do it. And I still don't think that John Mozeliak makes those comments at the winter meetings unless he is almost 100% sure that he can make the move.
Does it hurt the clubhouse, Bernie, if he stays? And he's if he stays, what does that mean? I mean, does that mean that he makes the grand statement that, hey, maybe you guys are a contender in 2 years, but he ends up disrupting what they're trying to accomplish, I think.
Yeah, that's the number one factor, rather than me, getting into talking again about whether he's a good leader or a bad leader, whether he's negative or we're being unfair, but rather than get into all that again, the fact is, even though I think the Cardinals overstate this commitment to youth because they only have so many spots where that really applies, but one of those spots, absolutely. In fact, I would say it's at top of the list is third base. They want Nolan Gorman there. They want to give him a full run and find out once and for all. Third base is his natural position. Can he play third base capably going forward? But can he hit? Can he be consistent? Can they get him on a track that would lead them to believe, okay, he showed us something this year and he's our guy. And now we feel better about him going forward. If Arenado's playing third base, I guess you put Gorman to second base. But it just doesn't help out the Cardinals in terms of what their goal is in 2025. And their goal is not, to win as many games as possible. It's not about, Nolan Arenado at third base makes us better. It's not really that. It's about freeing up a spot for Gorman. And then you can do whatever you want at second base, whether it's Thomas Saggese. And I may be overstating the Saggese factor because I keep reading, like Katie Wu had it the other day, and she's an excellent reporter, don't get me wrong. But, Brendan Donovan at second base. But it sort of proves my point, my skepticism about, wait a minute, is this really the year of the kids? Brendan Donovan's not a kid. I mean, he's not a young guy. I mean, he's not an old guy. But I see so many people in the media kind of put him in that group of like, well, we're going to play the kid. So he's not a kid. He's 28 years old, and he's been in the big league since early 2022. He's not a kid. So that's just another example of what I'm talking about. I'm confused by what their stated goal is for 2025, and yet the sort of the reporting that goes with it. How many spots are we talking about? If you're committing to Brendan Donovan at second base, and Sajaci would be a super utility guy, which is fine. So maybe that works out. But I'm just saying there's a lot of gray area here, I guess is the best way to put it.
This is the GasHouse gang from KMOX with Matt Pauley and Bernie MIklasz. I'm Tom Ackerman. We're sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Bernie, what a sponsor we brought in.
They're the best, and I can vouch for that because we've been a Saliga Heating and Cooling family for about 16 years now. Just outstanding service, the professionalism, the integrity, their knowledge, the fact they come into your home, they're classy. The one thing we've learned several times is like, they're not going to try to just sell you something to sell you something. They're not going to tell you you need something if you don't. They will look to work with you to find much cheaper alternatives, and that's a big deal. So this independent American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning dealer has been serving St. Louis families since 1927. The same Saliga family, 4 generations. So they're great at what they do. And they have a priority club. It's a maintenance program. I want you to go online and find out about it, but it's worth every nickel. And we're members of that priority club program. It also gives you some perks like expedited service, things like that. But they do residential, they do commercial, they do anything you can imagine. Financing options are available subject to credit approval. But I vouch for their integrity, and I vouch for their professionalism and knowledge. If you want to find out more, including the phone number, go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thank you.
Thank you. A sponsor of the GasHouse gang, Matt Pauley, Bernie MIklasz, Tom Ackerman. We have so much to get to. I mean, there are so many moves that have gone down today. So just to run down some of the stuff that happened. You had overnight Sean Manaea, 3 years, $75 million to go back to the New York Mets. You had Jock Peterson, 2 years, $37 million to the Rangers. Walker Buehler, who made some appearances in the postseason, that earned him some money. 1 year, $21 million with the Red Sox. Andrew McCutchen is going back to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're the ones who actually broke that story. The Pirates tweeted that out themselves and scooped everybody. Jesus Luzardo to the Phillies. Who else did I miss? Eloy Jimenez and the Tampa Bay Rays in agreement on a minor league deal. There are other deals that are going down in real time as we speak. But as I mentioned, everything's kind of jammed up here on this last day before Christmas Eve. And I would imagine maybe you'll get some more tomorrow morning. By the way, Bernie and I are planning on doing the GasHouse gang together at an earlier time. Bern, I think we'll do like 10 o'clock or something. Just get
that sounds good, man. It really does.
Get this thing rolling before everybody gets into their Christmas gatherings. But Matt, what do you make of that? So 3 years, 75, let's say for Manaea, does that shape the market a little bit? And what does it mean for the Cardinals if they want to trade one of their guys?
Yeah, I think it's just more of what we've seen. I mean, this goes right along with the Frankie Montas deal and the Luis Severino deal and the Matthew Boyd deal, like all these kind of mid-level guys who are getting $20+ million a year. And that's what the cost is now. We've said it a million times. It continues to add value to Eric Fedde because every single team out there that can't play in this sandbox, that sees how much the Manaeas and the Montases and the Boys and the Severinos are making, every team that just can't go in on something like that, they're going to circle back around and see what lower paid pitchers could be available on the trade market. And Eric Fedde certainly is the you can throw a spotlight on him. So I think it's just more of the same on the impact on a potential Fedde deal.
What do you think, Bernie? About
I agree with that.
Pitching?
I agree with that. And even Buehler getting 21 million. Listen, if he's 100%, that'll be a steal on a 1-year deal for the Red Sox. But there's still some doubts about his ability to bounce back. Not so much health, because he's healthy. He pitched last postseason, but just in terms of like he's back to like that peak quality stuff that he had that made him so formidable. So I think there would be a market under any circumstances for Fedde because, you get a full year, and he's only due to make $7.5 million next season. I mean, that's a pretty attractive guy. And there's was some scuttlebutt over the weekend that the Cardinals were getting another round of calls, let's say, for Fetty and Ryan Helsley. They downplay that, of course, and so we'll just see. Like, this is a poker game, so we'll just see if anybody's bluffing or whatever. But I think until we know for sure that they're not going to trade either one of those guys, we have to assume that at least it's a possibility. I don't know how to handicap that one either. Lot of poker being played these days.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going down right now. We'll keep an eye on the hot stove. Meanwhile, I alluded to this earlier. I mentioned this earlier that the Cardinals put a release about their minor league system. Probably shouldn't brush that off because that is a big part of what they're trying to do here, redeveloping their minor league system. These are big hires: minor league field coordinator, a base running coordinator, a pitching coordinator, a catching coordinator, which they really needed. Ethan Goforth played and coached in the Pirates minor league system. I find the most interesting Ryan Barba because he was just on the Padres coaching staff. So he basically worked for Mike Schilt and the Padres, and the Cardinals swipe him, and he was their major league field coordinator, Matt, and now he joins the Cardinals organization as their minor league field coordinator, Ryan Barba.
Yeah, I love these hires. As you mentioned, Barba was on the Padres coaching staff, major league field coordinator. So they go swipe somebody from Mike Schilt. So, maybe fans will like that one because we know that fans love Mike Schilt, and now it's somebody who was on Schilt's staff coming over. To your point, though, the minor league catching coordinator, as far as I'm concerned, that is the single biggest hire here. This is something that they absolutely needed. I'm happy for Jose Laguerre, who had been managing AA Springfield. A lot of this offseason has been spent bringing guys from outside the organization, and rightfully so. But that doesn't mean that people inside the organization who are smart don't deserve more opportunities. So he's getting pushed up to the assistant minor league field coordinator. And then I don't know how to pronounce. Is it Austin Miney? Okay, so he's a St. Louis native. He's been with the Baltimore Orioles most recently, but he's from the area. So there's some definitely there. I think you can look at each one of these hires and, like, from a narrative, from a storytelling standpoint, there are interesting things about all four of these guys or the positions in which they're filling.
Agreed.
Yeah, Bernie, they had to do that, didn't they?
Yeah, they listen. I have like 100% trust in Rob Cerfolio in terms of like knowing what to do and who to hire. He well-connected guy, very networked in as far as just anything to do with minor leagues and instructors and coaches and things of that nature. And I look at Miney for Wright City High School, not like you mentioned, close by to St. Louis City, not too far away. Anybody who has got extensive experience in that Baltimore Orioles minor league system, I'll take them because they've done a wonderful job getting players ready for the majors. Pitchers too, pitchers that in some ways have exceeded expectations. So that seems to be a really shrewd hire as well. It really does.
I'm wondering if Miney is related to Heine Miney, who pitched for the St. Louis Browns, who actually has a field named after him.
He might
in St. Louis. Yeah, that's where Mike Shannon used to play. Heine Miney. He would tell you all about that field. Yeah, it could be.
There's got to be a link somewhere back in time.
Gotta
trace it through the. Yeah,
it's not a real common last name.
No, and a baseball name. I mean, St. Louis is such a small town, big city. You gotta think there's a connection there somehow, some way. But yeah, pretty important, I would say. And what's to come here? I mean, what we're going to be right out of Christmas, Matt. We go right into the caravan, the winter warm up, and start to roll here. But one thing I'm encouraged by, I did talk to Ollie Marmol yesterday. He was doing a toy drive at Top Golf Midtown, but we chatted a little bit. He said he texted with Paul Goldschmidt. They talked it out, and he said, I love him and wish him the very best. So he did acknowledge the Goldschmidt move, but he said you're going to love Brent Brown, and not just his, ideas in terms of hitting, but he said he has a great personality that people I think are really going to enjoy. And he said it again. Brown has been working with Jordan Walker very closely, and Nolan Gorman, we know that, we've heard that, but he mentioned Walker specifically, that Brown has been connected to Jordan Walker, that Walker's been working as we speak down in Jupiter to get better. I mean, they are putting all their chips in on these young players.
Yeah, and it's kind of like winning the press conference. You always win the press conference. Your off-season hiring when it comes to coaches, you're always going to hear nothing but good things in the off-season. So that's what we should be hearing. It would be a pretty major red flag if there was something negative being said. All that being said, though, I'm not trying to throw water on anything. I'm hearing the same stuff. The energy, the excitement, the knowledge, the approach, everything about Brent Brown. It sounds like the Cardinals need to improve themselves in so many different areas, and it feels like Brown all by himself is able to kind of lift the tide in a bunch of those different areas just with his approach and the way he does things and the way he looks at the game of baseball. Now, at some point in time, spring training is going to start, games are going to start, and the Cardinals have to score some runs, and the Cardinals have to hit with runners in scoring position, and they have to do all these things, and then we can have a real conversation about the potential impact of Brent Brown. And I'm always the first guy that tells you that we overstate the importance of hitting coaches. So I'm kind of falling into the same thing, but I'm excited about the one thing I would say to push back on what I always say about we overstate the importance of hitting coaches. Cardinals hitters have underachieved. They have not reached their potential. You don't go from being a top level prospect to not being able to hit in the big leagues just because the talent's not there or something. There are people who make a lot of money on assessing prospects that they come up. We were right about Nolan Gorman. We were right about Jordan Walker as these guys were coming up through the system. So now they have to be unlocked. The Cardinals have not done a very good job at unlocking guys like that. So that's part of the reason to be excited about Brent Brown. Hopefully he can just be that person that helps bring these individuals to who they should be based off what we knew they were going to be when they were coming up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you guys all the way on both of these things. In other words, like Brent Brown's got credibility to me. I'm not saying he's going to be like the perfect hitting coach, but when Skip Schumacher recommends him he calls Ali Marmol up and John Mozeliak up. He says, you got to hire this guy. He was my batting coach in Miami, and we had a terrible offense the year before. And he improved so many individual hitters. He really helped them a lot. And even though the Miami Marlins didn't have a powerful offense when he was there, the point is he took them from a bottom level and moved them up in the rankings, and there was a lot of improvement. And the other thing is Cardinals fans that don't like the hire, they point out that he got fired by the Seattle Mariners. I'm sorry. The Seattle Mariners, to me, are not the judge and jury about the value of Brent Brown because they're an incompetent organization. If you're going to play that game, I go back to something that should be repeated many, many, many times when we talk about why we like the hiring. This dude worked for the Los Angeles Dodgers for 5 years straight. And he was a major league hitting coach too, but he worked with all their young guys. They used him in a variety of ways. The Dodgers are the smartest organization, not only in baseball, maybe the smartest organization in professional sports in North America. They thought so much of this guy that they gave him a lot of responsibility over 5 years. So pardon me if I take that over, if we're going to weigh the importance of something. I know I'm crazy, but I'll take that over the Mariners not liking him. Because what the heck have the Mariners won? I'll wait.
Let me add to that too, because the Mariners had him doing wacky stuff. Like he's the offensive coordinator, he's the hitting coach, he's the in-game mental skills coordinator, or whatever the heck they call that.
Exactly.
Yeah, just go be a hitting coach, man. Just go be a hitting coach.
And and then the other thing too, this is where I point out. Well, remember, and you guys know this. Remember that I'm exaggerating on purpose, of course. The personification in all baseball evil was Jeff Albert, right? Oh, yeah. Because, oh my gosh, he believed in technology. He believed in analytics. He's a demon. Get him out of here. What's up with that long hair? Get him out of here. He's ruining everybody. Their offense is pretty damn good in 21-22. But what do I know, right? Who is that guy with the long hair walking around? You know who liked Jeff Albert? Albert Pujols liked Jeff Albert. He thought he's really sharp. He learned some things from him. So anyway, so who knows with hitting coaches? The guy that Cardinals fans basically, and a lot in our people in our business, the media, just they got to do something with this Albert. Oh, he's the worst. No, actually, he was really, really good. So we don't know with hitting coaches. Let's just say it that way. When we think someone's terrible, maybe they're not. We think they're great. Wait and see. But I think Brent Brown is a good hire on the surface. I really do.
The GasHouse gang from KMOX with Matt Pauley and Bernie MIklasz. I'm Tom Ackerman. Another thing that Ollie Marmol told me yesterday was they are looking forward to playing winning baseball, and that's what they want. I mean, they are going to continue to push that, and I understand how he's trying to convey that to the fans. He wants the fans to get excited about these young players coming through. And you know what? As I talked to Ricky Horton and Derek Gould about this yesterday, there is also the other side that things could not go well. And as Ricky said, probably both will happen. There will be exciting moments and there are going to be things that don't go well, but you got to find out. Bernie, let me start with you on this. How would you define 2025 as a success? Like when it's all said and done, the Cardinals' chances of going to win the World Series seem to be pretty slim based on what their projected roster will be. But what would be a success to you?
Tom and Matt, I look at it in the abstract because I don't have a win total in mind. I don't have like, well, if they go into August and they're in contention, I don't have any of that on my list, right? I don't have a comprehensive list, but to me, it's a successful season if Walker and Gorman get back on track in a way that excites everyone. If Ivan Herrera shows that, because we believe in his bat and his defense, other than throwing, is really pretty good, very good actually. But can he improve his throwing? Can he get more velocity on his throws to second base? I'll consider a successful season if Palante builds on what he did last year and also McGreevy gets into that rotation at some point. I will consider it a successful season with all the things I've mentioned. And then down on the list, some more, if Thomas Saggese proves he can be that super utility guy that the Cardinals always have liked to have and who can be really valuable. It'll be a successful season if you add Lars Nootbaar playing 140, 145 games and staying healthy. If Mason Wynn can take it to the next level, and if Ollie Marmol is going to bat him first again, he's just going to have to improve his on-base percentage. He's just going to have to. And if he does, that's another thing that goes into a successful season. I mean, those are some of the things I'm looking at. And if all those things happen, or most of those things happen, I'll be pretty happy with the season, no matter what they win. I mean, you know what I mean? When I'm just not getting hung up on predicting a win total. First of all, we don't know exactly who's going to be on the team yet, but all the people that I mentioned on this list, they're essential to whether the Cardinals have a really productive 2025 season or not. So I don't think any of these guys are going to be anywhere other than in St. Louis. So this is really, really important. And you could throw Quinn Matthews coming up, getting in the rotation, Tink Hence getting on the doorstep to St. Louis. There's other things too, but that's my list anyway.
Matt, all those things are possibilities. How do you see it as a success for you?
Yeah, I think that's a really good comprehensive list by Bernie. And I would add to it that if that happens, this team is contending to be a playoff team. If those things happen, I'm not saying they are in the playoffs, but they are there, and they were right there this year. You know, everybody likes to go, and there's a difference between a winning season and a season that's not a failure. It was a failure this past season in the sense that they built the team to try to get to the postseason. They made moves at the trade deadline, and they did not get to the postseason. So it was a failure. I'm not trying to run by that, but it was also a winning season this past year. If everything that Bernie just said happens, this team is right there. We'll see what happens in the NL Central. We've talked a lot about this. I'm still worried about the more moves the Cubs may end up making. But that, to me, that's a formula right there for this team to have another winning season, probably be around 500 most of the year. And if the chips fall in the right direction and they win some more games, maybe they sneak into the playoffs.
I think I'll add on to that only that you have to recharge the fan base in some way and get them through the turnstiles. I think that if you start to see people back in the ballpark, it's a really good sign. It means that you have expressed your message very well, that you have shown the team, the fans, I mean, that the team is going to play a brand of baseball that they can be proud of. I've said this probably a million times, but I feel that Cardinals fans love one thing more than the Cardinals, and that is great baseball. They love baseball first. They want to see baseball played very well, and they want to see it played to their expectations. I know there's one thing about, winning championships. There's another about playing baseball at a high level, and if they see young players improving, I think that they will catch on. I really do. I think that fans, as bummed out as they were last year and started to bail on the team, I think if they see a light at the end of the tunnel, they'll start to put themselves back in the seats. It does not mean the fans aren't out there. They're there. We see them all the time. I mean, they interact with us all the time. They just chose to send a message. And if you start to see them get more involved coming back out to the ballpark, which I do believe could very well happen if you see all these players come through, all of that comes together. But I agree with you on the baseball stuff. Walker showing improvement. Gorman showing that he can hit not only hit home runs, but reduce strikeouts, hit at a high level, play that position. Donovan be a leader. Contreras be a leader. Behind the plate, have that stabilized and have Burleson and Herrera and whoever else operating at the DH. I really think that the bullpen is going to be good. I think the rotation has a chance to be better because you have some of the younger pitchers giving them a shot. I didn't love the rotation last year. There were too many bumps in the road. I'm willing to accept some bumps in the road if the Cardinals are elevating younger pitchers to be better and better, giving them a chance. I think the number one thing is offense. I think by far and away, the reason the Cardinals did not win last year is their offense stunk. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, they just did not do anything of merit. I mean, their leading home run hitter was Paul Goldschmidt in a down year. They have to be able to show improvement on offense. If they do that, Bernie, I think fans will get revved up. They will.
And the thing about the offense, and I was doing the research on this late last week for something I'm going to maybe do a video on, but this is a really good spot to put this. We all know the Cardinals were horrendous last year with batting average and runners in scoring position. Okay. And what I've learned through the years is that when something is drastic, whether it's incredibly good or like really, really bad, a lot of it, there's a certain amount of randomness baked in. There can be outliers, whether, again, it's high level performance in that area or really bad. There can be outliers. The point I'm getting to, that was the worst offensive performance by a Cardinals team with runners in scoring position. You'd have to go back to the like 1912 or 1913. That's how bad it was. Seriously. It's unbelievable. So my point is, isn't that going to bounce back? I mean, yes. I'm not going to sit here and assume that they're going to be just as awful again, because baseball history tells us it doesn't work that way. If anything, when you're really awful at something like runners in scoring position, the numbers are just going to inevitably go up. It happened like that with the Cardinals. In the other way, 2013, that team was crazy good with runners in scoring position. And Mike Matheny would get mad when we would ask him, well, this is unsustainable. And he'd get real mad. I don't blame him, man. It's his team. And I'll be danged if they didn't really keep it up all year. They surprised me until the World Series. Then, of course, they didn't. Then they stopped hitting with runners in scoring position. But it always turns around. And I think the Cardinals are due to do much better in that area next season, because that's what history tells us. Runners in scoring position can be really fickle. People think that it's a finite skill. It's a discernible skill. And some guys take better at bats than others in runners in scoring position. But I think last year was really, really weird with that. And I hate to say this because I have much respect for him, but Paul Goldschmidt last season, there were only 5 hitters in the majors who were worse than Paul with runners in scoring position last year. So that upturn alone, That one area will make them a better offense. How much better remains to be seen, but they'll be better.
GasHouse Gang from KMOX with Matt Pauley, Bernie MIklasz. I'm Tom Ackerman. Bernie, before we go, give me a little bit on Saliga Heating and Cooling.
Well, the MIklases have been calling Saliga Heating and Cooling at 314-481-7333 for the last 16 years. They've helped us through minor emergencies, scary things where we thought we might have a huge emergency. They have found cheaper alternative solutions to our problems. They have solved like a problem spot in my office where I sit today by installing a thing called a mini split, like in the summertime, like with the heat beating down on this old house. Our normal air conditioning is fine, but not where this office sits. And I couldn't conquer the heat, but they solved the problem with 1 2-hour visit by putting a thing called a mini split. And I'm just giving you some firsthand experiences we had. And of course, with this independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, we trust them 100%. They're 100% honest. They have the credibility that goes back to 1927. They can do it all for you. So highly recommend this American Standard and heating and air conditioning dealer. Highly recommend it. From the MIklasz family to yours, you won't go wrong. You'll go right if you call Saliga Heating and Cooling. Go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. They have financing options available, subject to credit approval. You can get the phone number there, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thanks.
Let me give you another place to go, and that is the Bernie Show on YouTube. It's a must. He puts videos up, and he does them so fast. I mean, as soon as news breaks on something, Bernie puts together his thoughts. He does his prep, and he delivers a video on that very topic and goes at length. So, like, what you see from Bernie on this show is kind of a piece of what he does in full on his YouTube page. It's awesome. And while you're there, of course, subscribe to KMOX Sports. Our YouTube page is pretty good. We put this up on all of them. This podcast is now everywhere on Apple, on Spotify, Pandora, wherever you can find podcasts. Matt, you have Sports Open Line, but not much because we have Monday Night Football tonight. Packers and Seahawks. What do you got going on today?
Yeah, so 30 minutes tonight. We'll talk through the Goldschmidt thing and what that means for the Cardinals. Obviously, what we've been talking about on this show, much of what we'll continue on. Do you want to maybe give this to Tom, but later on this week, if we could just plug what Bernie and I will be doing during the Dave
please
Glover
do.
show.
You guys are taking over the Dave Glover show.
So it's the GasHouse Gang / Dave Glover show. So for people who are used to listening and watching the show at 12 noon, coming up later on this week, it's going to be a little bit different because on Thursday and Friday, Bernie and I are going to spend 4 hours together in studio at KMOX, filling in for the Dave Glover show with GasHouse Gang. Well, it'll be a little bit different. We'll do some non-sports stuff. We'll maybe won't go quite as many X's and O's as we do on here, but it'll be a lot of fun on these couple days later this week.
That's awesome. And Bernie and I are going to we've made the executive decision to do an early GasHouse Gang tomorrow before everybody gets going for Christmas. So let's do 10 a.m. Bernie. I'll be off the air at that time.
Sounds
I'll
good,
be
man.
here.
Yeah.
So I'll just turn the computer on here in the office and we'll roll at 10 tomorrow. And then we'll be off for Christmas and these guys will have it Thursday and Friday. Kevin Wheeler taking the week off. We're all back at it next week as we get ready for college football playoff time to continue. We'll have some fun with it. The GasHouse Gang from KMOX, thank you very much for joining us as always.